Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stars Like Us. I am your host, Aliza Kelly, and today I am here with David Birtwistle, who you may know from Too Hot to Handle and who is the founder of Endeavor Life. Now, we did not do this while the mics were recording, which is probably the biggest snafu in Stars Like Us history, because David just texted his mom. It really happened. For us astrology fans, this is sort of like this is stuff of memes, is, text your mom, we need your birth info. David actually did it in real time just as we were getting set up, and his very diligent mother. When is your mom's birthday, by the way? Oh shit. Okay. Stop the track.
When is no, mom's birthday is the 29th of December.
Okay, so this Capricorn mommy rolled through. She was online while the messages were coming in and was able to confirm that a 4:15 a.m. birth time, which means David is an Aries Sun, a Capricorn Rising with an Aquarius Moon. Now, you have to tell your mom that 4:15 a.m. time is really important. And because we did get in around, if it was 4 a.m., it might be a little different than if it was 4:30, for instance. So you're on the edge of a few different things. So, you could talk with your mom about that offline. But for our purposes today, we're going to work with that. We're going to work with 4:15. We're going to treat it like it is canon. And for those who do not know David is a presenter, TV personality, and fitness and nutrition coach from London, whose profile exploded after starring on the first season of the Netflix show Too Hot to Handle in April 2020. Since then, David has filmed the new Channel 4 show, The Love Trap, airing later this year, and is also presenter/producer of his own automotive YouTube show, On Point. Alongside his media work, David runs Endeavor, an online fitness and nutrition coaching company with clients all around the world. He inspires many others through his inspirational, educational, social media content. I'm sorry, I just got so caught off guard by the automotive YouTube show that I just didn't see it coming as I was reading through the bio. I guess you are definitely a jack of many, many trades. So David, how did all of this happen? I mean, we know that your profile, as you wrote, exploded in 2020 after being on season 1 of Too Hot to Handle, which, by the way, my friend and colleague Shannon Boodram was on. So maybe you know her because of that. But
maybe
regardless, she was the sex expert.
Oh yeah. I do know her. Yeah.
Cool.
She's really pretty. She's got very nice hair as well, isn't she?
She is very pretty. She's also an Aries, just like you. But we'll talk about that later. So tell us about what was happening before the show.
Yeah.
What happened during and after the show, and what's going on now? How has your life changed, and how has that also corresponded with a global pandemic?
Yeah, really good question. To be honest, I was doing a lot of the stuff I'm still doing before. So I was already running my coaching company before the show came out, before we did the Netflix stuff. So that was very much the same. Like, I'm still working in the same industry. But obviously, like, as a result of having a lot more exposure, more opportunities kind of come my way, which is also great because, as you kind of alluded to, I like to do many different things. And there's the TV side of it, there's the fitness side of it, but then there's the automotive side of it. And like, I just have multiple different interests, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was quite crazy because Too Hot to Handle came out April 2020, and that's when the vast majority of the world was in lockdowns. And so in the UK, in London, which is where I'm based, there was this eruption of social media, digital attention, but then I'd walk outside and it's like a ghost town, like it's dead because no one's here, and it was really, really weird. So yeah, it was a really interesting time, but like, we're kind of in the UK come out of it now. Most people have been vaccinated. We don't have any restrictions in place, and it kind of feels like pre-COVID. So it's only now really that I'm able to actually go meet people and go to events and network and kind of expand and develop upon what was created from the exposure from Too Hot to Handle. So now things are starting to pick up a little bit. Like, so I've got this new show coming out on Channel 4, which I'm really excited about. It's called The Love Trap. And that's going to be a really like fun, entertaining show. I think people are going to enjoy it. It's a dating show, kind of like The Bachelor, but there's a really big twist in that half of the girls. Actually, no, I can't. I don't know if I can say
No, you
this,
gotta keep saying. You gotta go.
I don't know if I can say it.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it.
There's a twist. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
Is that the love trap? Is the trap the twist?
The trap. There's a play on the word trap. Essentially, it's like The Bachelor, but there's something that means that it's nothing like The Bachelor, which is very important.
Do they all have STDs?
Oh God, I hope not.
See, this is what happens when you leave me to my own devices. I need to know what the trap is.
I don't know if I can tell you. I can't remember if I'm allowed to say it or not. So it's best I don't say it. But what I can say is go and watch it. It comes out September 29th, I think. So yeah. But yeah, then as a result of that, I'm like now starting to be able to develop upon it and work on my own show. And yeah, like good things are coming up.
So are you a contestant on the Love Trap, or are you one of the presenters?
I am a contestant, I suppose you'd call it, one of the cast.
Okay.
Like, you know, The Bachelor, you have like The Bachelor and then a variety of women.
Yeah, the slew of people, yes.
It's kind of like that.
And is it you and then all of the ladies? Oh, yeah. Shit. Okay. So Too Hot to Handle. Like, what was the story of deciding that you wanted to try out for the audition for the show? And like, how was it really like, listen, I'm really horny and I really can't figure out how not to fuck. Like, because I am obsessed with the premise of the show is like sexy people, they really want to fuck, but they cannot. But maybe you didn't even know what the premise was going into it.
No,
so
we didn't know.
Tell us everything.
Yeah, like when you see us finding out the concept, that is when we found out the concept. Like, I didn't know. We didn't know what it was going to be. I was just told, listen, David, it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. You're going to have a great time. I just trust us. There wasn't I didn't know what it was going to be like. But what I did is I just trusted that if it's on Netflix and they're investing into it, it's going to be good because Netflix make great TV. So I was like, if they're making great TV, then I'll trust that this is also going to be good. The interesting thing is I've always been skeptical of reality TV, of producers, of creating trouble and drama. And I was so against the idea of doing that because I already had my business going and I already had clients and it was established and I didn't want to ever do anything that would jeopardize that. So I was always very like, up front with the producers. I was like, listen, just tell me what you're trying to get out of this, because if it's going to be trashy reality TV, I'm not interested. But they were like, no, it's cool, just trust us, it's going to be good. I'm like, fine, I trust you.
but what if they lied?
Well, I know that's the problem, isn't it?
What if they were lying? I mean, I've said in so many different iterations, I've been like, I'm really worried about the lighting on this. I'm really worried about like the design details. Like, I'm really worried about, there being typos. Can I get an extra set of eyes? Trust us. Bam. Typos, horrible lighting, terrible makeup. Listen, you're a Capricorn rising. I am also a Capricorn rising. We are control freaks. Okay. That's just the truth. We have to work so much harder than everyone else. This is how it feels to be a Capricorn rising. And we're often disappointed. Our expectations are too high and everyone else sucks. That's just the truth of it. And this is maybe not real, but this is the perception of being a Capricorn rising. This is what we experience. You, I'm sure, even as someone who is slightly astrology skeptical, would probably say, yes, that is fucking true. But
I mean, it does sound pretty on point. Yeah.
But yet you surrendered to this process. You surrendered to the producers making a reality TV show, and you're happy with the result.
Yeah, it turned out really well. Like, that's the truth of it, is they created a really nice show that was a complete twist to what was going on. Like, it's a really positive show. If you actually think about the point of it, it's trying to create better, more meaningful connections with people. It's about, you know, opening up, showing vulnerability and weakness, and owning all of that stuff and growing as people. And I think that that's actually something which is completely contrasting to a lot of TV.
Yeah. So prior to the show, you had your businesses running. Were you looking at different programs, or how did it come to be that you ended up auditioning and becoming involved in the production of this?
Cheeky DM slide.
Really?
One of the producers just like slid into my DMs and was like, "Hey, David, I'm like casting for a new show on a," they didn't even say Netflix, they're like on a worldwide streaming service. Would you be interested in having a conversation? And it just went from there, really. I wasn't looking to go on TV. I wasn't like actively searching things out. It was just, you know, if opportunities come, you can look at whether they're the right opportunity and then take them as and when they come.
So this is a lesson in reading your DMs.
Yeah.
You're like,
shit goes down in the DMs.
Read your fucking DMs, obviously.
Yeah.
So since then, this lovely siren is super excited for us to be chatting.
Yeah.
They'd love to come for our podcast. Since then, and with the success of this show, you have so many other things that are going on. Are you excited to continue, including this upcoming dating show? So are you excited to continue staying in the dating sphere and seeing where that goes? I mean, are you actively dating right now? Are you really using these platforms as a way to try to build connections with people? Or is this sort of, is this sort of like fueling the greater machine, which is the bigger vision that you have? Or how do all of these integrate, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, big picture stuff. Let's think big picture. Like, this will be my last kind of reality dating show. I'm not interested in doing any more. Like, I'm always thinking,
is that what the trap is?
No.
The trap is I quit halfway through the show.
Halfway through, I'm like, fuck this shit, I'm out. See ya. No, it's I'm always thinking like, what's the next thing? Where are we going to? How do we progress? How do we develop, evolve, and change? And like that's life. I think life is a journey, and like if you're constantly doing the same thing, for me, doing the same thing is standing still. Then standing still is basically running backwards. How do I move forward? So for me, yeah, it's just bigger picture stuff. How can I use the skills I've acquired to do something new? And I know that I am very extroverted personality type. I know that I can perform, and I'm quite kind of natural on camera and stuff. So I've been presenting for a while on my own YouTube channel. And so now it's a case of how do I take that and actually make it a serious career? How do I step forward and do the next thing and kind of branch away from kind of dating things? Because I think there's a lot more to offer. I've got a lot more knowledge and experience to offer than doing something like that. How can I actually move forward and progress?
So prior to these two shows, were you actively dating? Were you in a relationship, or how have these shows informed your romantic connections with other people?
Well, I'm definitely having less sex. That's a
And
mixture
is
of
that
good and
because
bad.
is that because the whole is that the curse of Too Hot to Handle, is that you can't have sex on the show and then turns out you can't have sex ever again?
No, that's it. You can't. It just
Damn.
continues. It
And then it
continues forever.
continues. Yeah, it's like the
Yeah,
Truman Show. Once the cameras start rolling, they never stop.
that's it. There's cameras here and here and here and here.
Ensuring you will not have sex.
No, you know what it is? It's just that like Too Hot kind of woke up my mind as to what really is important for me, and as a human being, that connection. Like as a result of that, I'm no longer seeing as many different women. I'm only really seeing women who I think have a potential to develop into something else, which means that inevitably you have less sex as a result of that. So yeah, like it's definitely helped me get more connected with up here and in here, and that's it's nice. I feel more wholesome now, you know. It's like slightly deeper instead of being any like surface stuff. It's like going deeper, and that's really nice. So like I've been dating, I've had some nice dates and spent some time with like a couple of women since the show has aired, but it just, for whatever reason hasn't gone that way. And actually it's I feel like I'm more aware of what I really need from a partner and what I can give to someone. And when someone doesn't necessarily line up with that, it's not that they're wrong, it's not that I'm wrong, it's just that we're like maybe two pieces of a puzzle that don't quite fit together. And that's, I think, often a misconception with dating and with life, is that there has to be someone that's wrong. And that's not the case at all. I don't think that half the time that is. It's like, whoever I am right now is whoever I am, and that's fine. And whoever you are is whoever you are. And like, we might fit or we might not fit. That's kind of how I start to see it now.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something that I talk about in my upcoming book, which comes out September 28th. So just a day. So people will buy my book, then they'll tune into Channel 4. That's exactly the order of late September.
Yes. Buy the book, then watch
then tune in. Yes. But one of the things that I talk about is the fact that when it comes to sex, for someone who wants to, go out and have a lot of sort of transactional sex, where there isn't a lot of emotion, there isn't really anything else that is bonding these two people other than the physical act, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with the person who sees sex as an act and an expression of intimacy, and who sees it as something that is going to bring two people even closer together. The problem is when there's no communication between that, and you assume that the other person is approaching sex in the same way that you are. But, that's a microcosm for the macrocosm, which is communication and sort of getting to know yourself. And really what you're looking for is ultimately, the most you can do, right, ever, because we can't control other people, even when we're control freak Capricorn risings. And we need to only be responsible and accountable for our own truth. And truths can oscillate and they can change because we go through different phases. We want something in our early 20s that we don't want in our early 30s, in our early 40s, whatever, as it goes on. But staying really present and grounded and honest and authentic with your own desires and communicating those responsibly, to me, is like, it would alleviate a lot of heartbreak and a lot of misunderstandings that happen. But it's massively doing a lot of like internal work to even know what that is in the first place.
Yeah, it does. I think it really, really does. But also it takes a level, it's a self-awareness, but also then the self-confidence to be able to understand it and to deliver it, and the articulation to be able to communicate it in a way that the other person then understands. So it's actually quite a difficult thing to be able to do. And most people just get too scared to do it and then ghost, or just stop replying, or do something stupid, and therefore it all kind of falls apart.
Right. And then, even if you're not the one ghosting, and you're the one who is trying to then sort of, and you become more of a stage 5 clinger, right? Like that is also more of a reaction to someone else than starting to like pull away, or you're sensing something, or you're not communicating your truth. So then you're compensating for that by behaving in ways that you wouldn't even normally behave in the situation, but you're feeling insecure, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling afraid. Okay, so my follow-up question to that is, now what do you do with the onslaught of DMs that I'm sure you get, and all of the people who are trying to have sex with you? Because this is something that people don't talk about, but is a real thing. And I've had friends who have been on very successful TV shows and have had and been with partners, and then had to sort of reconcile, like, I'm getting nude pictures all the fucking time. I have to like how do you manage that, you know? So is that your truth as well? And how do you manage that and stay sane in the process?
Yeah, there's a certain level of truth to that, to be honest. Like, you know, girls complain that guys send dick pics unsolicited. Well, I've had many unsolicited equivalent, you know, like they just come through to the DMs. It is what it is. Like, I don't know.
And you check your DMs, and I reached out to you on the DMs. The producer reached out to you on the DMs. So you check the DMs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you get many opportunities through the DMs, and also like, because I post a lot of stuff where I'll ask questions to the audience and I'll try and get engagement. I'll read the DMs, but there's a lot of shit that comes through and you can't engage with all of it. So for me, it's just a case of like looking at what is genuine, what appears to be genuine, and then is it something worth responding to? The truth is that like you kind of have to do some due diligence. And, you know, if you're getting a message from someone that's like, hey, like, what the fuck do you want me to do with that? All right. Like, it used to crack me up so hard when girls would say that guys are like unoriginal, trying to like hit on them. Guys wouldn't have very good chat lines. Oh, why can't guys just be original and funny and witty when they're trying to chat us up? And I'm like, you fucking girls are no better. Trust me. Like, it's amazing the shit chat up lines that come into my DMs. Hey, how are you? I'm like, I'm great, but like, I don't know who you are, and like, why would I continue this conversation?
Well, do you think that they actually think that you're gonna respond?
I don't know. Maybe not.
And are you responding being like, good, come up with something more creative next time?
like, come on. Nah, I don't know. I just like leave it if it comes through and if it's not like a genuine thing. But yeah, I think you just got to be careful. Just got to be careful of those DMs, you know?
Yeah. I mean, do you think that you are going to, have you dated through Instagram? I think too hot to handle.
Instagram's the number one dating app in the world, isn't it?
I don't know. I have been engaged. I'm thank you so much. But I did not. I met my fiance on Tinder, which was indeed a true dating app. So I didn't know that Instagram has converted into one.
Well, I mean, like, kind of. It's like Instagram's a great way to make connections with people. It's a social media app, right? So it's a great way of making connections with people. So as a result of maybe making those initial connections, you might one day end up dating that person. But actually, from my own experience, the best way is just to meet someone in real life. Like, it's I don't personally do it, but I'm sure that a lot of people do, where you will like someone will slide into the DMs, a conversation will start, and then you'll go for a date. Like, I'm sure that happens quite a lot. But usually I think it's just a great way to establish a small connection with someone, and then you actually need to eventually meet them. Otherwise, it's just you do not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, before I met my now fiance, I dated this guy who had, you know, his phone would ring at like suspicious times. Like, there was always something his phone behavior was very suspicious. And I was like, who are you, you know, like, who are these people? Who are you talking to? And they were like, oh, just like my Instagram friends. And I was like, okay, like, this isn't also like a public figure. This was just like a guy, you know, this is a guy who lived in Brooklyn. And I came to realize that these DMs and these friendships were like freaky sex / never meeting in person, like dynamics, like they were sexual in tone, but they knew they like lived in other parts of the world or other parts of the country, but they were like, you know, they had a sexual undertone, which obviously was like horrific, right? Like that's like, I'm not together with this person anymore, obviously, long story short. But
yeah,
I could imagine that if you're single and then you have the magnitude, the size of the platform that you have, and like you are at least right now famously single, right? And that might change, and maybe that will change, but I could imagine that your DMs are like, I don't know, a really wild place to.
I mean, they might be. I probably should have a little look and see if I've got any funny ones to,
You're like,
to share
let
with
me
you.
see.
Let me see what's going on in the DMs at the moment. To be honest, like I just don't really engage with it most of the time. Like that's the truth.
But do you think that when you meet someone who you're going to fortify a strong connection with, that you're going to have to, like, how do you think you're going to approach it in your DMs? Like, do you think you're going to have to set some boundaries or like block the DMs or? I
mean, the difference is you just don't reply to them.
But so you are replying to, hey, what's up?
No. I mean,
I'm kidding.
So like on the message requests, right? So if you get like message requests where someone might say something and then, you know, you just, I guess like you don't engage with it at all. So even if someone like who would be a really good fit messages you, then you just obviously don't engage with it. If someone's coming in and tries to flirt with you, it's different if you've already got them as a connection where you're connected somehow, then it's kind of the same as if they were a friend. I think it's once you've established a connection with someone and it's not a new potential connection, if you have an ongoing connection with someone and then you have a relationship, any of these previous connections, you have to make them aware that you're in a relationship. Like if the first time they then hit on you, say you haven't spoken to them for 6 months, you've got into a relationship in that period of time, and then they try hitting on you, you're like, yo, just so you know, like I'm seeing someone, so like that's now not appropriate. That's how I would deal with it.
Got it. That seems very responsible and very logical and very normal.
I think that's the best way to be, right?
That seems like a very easy solution. You've just presented something that sounds very reasonable and sounds under control.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at your chart. Oh no, DMs
I was just
first.
gonna
DMs
just
first.
a little. This is an example of just. It's actually quite a lovely thing. Someone, I'm not going to name who it is, just said, "So what's the deal? Are you in a relationship, or can I take you on a date?" You know, this seems like that's a nice thing for someone to say.
Wait, can you read it one more time?
Yeah, it just said, "So what's the deal? Are you in a relationship, or can I take you on a date?"
See, I don't think I think that's aggressive, personally.
That was from.
This is from a total stranger?
Quite nice. Yeah, these are all like messages that I haven't accepted. So
this is a complete total stranger, somebody who could be anyone in the world.
Yeah, anyone in the world. What else? Someone just said bloody divine. It's
that's
just like
random, that's a nice compliment.
Messages. Yeah. It's always just like, it's never really too obnoxiously rude. It's just quite nice.
But someone saying, can I take you on a date? That's like very forward. And it's also like, I mean, from my perspective, like when I was on the apps all those years ago and I would get messages like that, I'd be like, kind of like, fuck off. Like, no, you cannot, because you would like, that's just inappropriate, you know? But maybe for you, you're like, no, that's really lovely and sweet. And it's a gentle message. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm probably because I've had like significantly more obnoxiously rude ones. So like if someone says something where I'm like, oh, that's actually quite sweet, I'm like, I kind of give them props for just being nice.
So what would be a rude one?
Oh, just like, you know, unsolicited, explicit photos.
Oh, like graphic
behavior from like men or women.
Oh
like
my goodness.
there doesn't seem to be any sort of filter from either gender.
Wow. Wow. What a time to be alive. What a time to have, what a
But
time to have 1 million followers.
You know what though? I think like we have to give some credit, because like the vast majority of people are really lovely. The vast majority of DMs I get are engaging with my content organically and genuinely. And it is honestly, like, I don't have problems with it at all. It's rare. And most of the time when people are kind of reaching out, they're being quite nice and they're being very complimentary, and like I don't have any like issue with it. And if someone does do something that's like a bit obnoxious or a bit rude, I'm kind of like, I'm just not going to respond to that, and then it's gone.
Okay, well, something I want to flag for you, David, is that you have a chart that has a lot of Aquarius in it. And Aquarius, so your Mars is in Aquarius, your Venus is in Aquarius, your North Node is in Aquarius, and your moon with the time that we have is also in Aquarius. Now, not going into the minutia of every single one of those, let me just say that all of those Aquarius placements, especially in the planets associated with like sex and love, Aquarius is the sign of innovation. It's very progressive. It's very cerebral. It's very sort of like, you know, it likes to challenge the status quo, and it's comfortable with things being a little atypical, right? So your chart and you, because those are one of the same in astrology, can withstand probably a lot more like, yeah, it's a vag, like, yeah, it's some tits, like, yeah, like it's some balls. But it's possible that the person that you connect with is not going to be comfortable in the same way that you are with it. So that will be really interesting to see, because from your chart, I do see that you can really sort of, it's not even compartmentalize. It's also, it's kind of like have a level of remove from it so that it doesn't feel personal. You know, it's like, you can sort of see the bigger picture. You can sort of understand, sort like it's, you can sort of see it in the context of like, here are like a bunch of people on their phones and like,
yeah, that is
in
exactly,
Czechoslovakia, like sending these messages, and like that's okay. Like it's okay. Czechoslovakia like literally hasn't existed in 20 years. That's chill too. But from the past,
time traveling.
Yeah, time traveling from Czechoslovakia prior to the fall of Soviet Union, no problem. But
that is quite like me though.
But it's possible that someone is going to be like, no, like you need to boundary that up. You cannot have your DMs open. You need to put that thing on your DMs where it says, no, people, you know, you can't message this person from outside. And I'm not saying that you are going to be with that person, but it's interesting to think like you are someone who is more open-minded. That might not be the person that you end up falling in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Unless that's a value and you're like, I couldn't be with someone who would ask me to do something like that.
Yeah, I guess like my immediate innate response is, if you trust me, it shouldn't be an issue.
Which is spoken like true Aquarius energy. For our listeners, they're like, classic. And you're like, I have no idea what she's talking about. Okay.
I don't get it.
Tell us about the Automotive Show very quickly.
Yeah, so On Point, it's a brand new automotive show. So it basically, it's not just about cars, but it's a automotive centric lifestyle show. So we basically will take any vehicle, car, motorbike, boat, helicopter, off-road buggy, whatever, and go on a journey with it from A to B. And there'll be guests, and we won't just talk about the vehicle, but we'll also do stuff with like travel and fashion and mental health, and really like bring it into the modern gentleman. So like, obviously Top Gear is the biggest automotive show in the world. It is a behemoth. It's also quite a, I don't know how to say this like rudely or dismissively because it's my favorite show, but it's old man thinking. It's not modern man thinking. And so I want to try and create this show which is modern man thinking and a more kind of progressive way of going through this, to kind of bring up and provide something which is going to be entertaining, educational as well, for the younger audience that we can like grow with, that's more 21st century. I'm really excited about it.
And it's interesting because I would imagine that the audience for that is predominantly male, maybe. And it seems like that's who you're speaking to.
Yeah. Like it could be that it's about cars and bikes and engineering and stuff like that. There's predominantly going to be a male audience, but we're going to bring in guests, and they'll be female. It's not just going to be like guys talking about cars, but like it'll be all different types of guests, and that'll bring in a slightly different audience too. So it should be more appealing to everyone eventually.
I really love this from an astrological point of view because you are an Aries Sun. And if you just search anything about being an Aries Sun, you're going to read or hear, listen or watch things that are about winning, about like sports, about like driving fast. The imagery that I always use for Aries is a race car, actually, because that is sort of the essence of that sign. It's really
Do you want to know something funny? So, which ties in perfectly with what you were talking about. So today I had a bit of a contemplation, self-reflection, self-assessment conversation about success and winning. And then tomorrow I'm going to a racetrack to drive Aston Martins.
Oh shit. Wow. Well, there you go. Living your sun sign, living that
Literally.
Aries experience. Yes.
That's
being
exactly
sort of the poster child of being an Aries. We love to see it. We love to see it.
Such a stereotype.
Now you are, from what, at least at this moment, today is September 1st, 2021. I believe you identify as a straight man. Things can change, of course, but can you speak for all straight men in the world and tell me why you think straight men do not like astrology for the most part? I know you said that I know that that's not you. I know you said you're skeptical, which I'm fine with. I'm comfortable with it. But speaking on behalf of hundreds of millions of people, what would you say?
I would say that I think that there's like steps. I'm quite a step-by-step, A to B to C thinking kind of guy. So lots of science makes sense to me because I can go, this causes that, which causes this, which causes that. Whereas with astrology saying A causes Z, I'm like, how does that happen? And I've yet to find someone that's able to logically explain it. And so I often will liken astrology as a belief system to religion as a belief system, because you believe it, therefore it's your truth, but it might not necessarily make sense to me. And I reckon that may be the thing with other guys might have the same problem.
Yes, and it is a belief system. I mean, it is, you do have to subscribe to the belief system of astrology in order to make those links, to sort of connect the dots as, oh, you are a sun in Aries, therefore you have X, Y, and Z personality traits, or these types of themes show up in your life. But, I would argue that everything is really a belief system. And especially, unfortunately, in this very tumultuous time that we're living in, even science is starting to be sort of reimagined as a belief system, which is kind of a mind fuck, because you would think that should scientists say, hey, climate change, hey, vaccines, hey, like global pandemic, that people be like, of course, this is very rational and makes so much sense. But even that is being sort of reconsidered as a belief system, for better or worse. You know what I mean?
The tricky thing, I think, is that in the world that we live in now, it's not often that information is given the weight that it should be given based on the validity of the information. Often, a random person from over there can shout loudly enough that enough people believe that thing, that it's given the same weight as something that has been studied, evaluated, published, peer-reviewed, journaled, and then put out to the world, and has been through so much scrutiny. And that is, it's good that we have social media and we have Twitter and we have the freedom of information and freedom of speech, and like almost everyone has a voice, but also the process of science is methodical, and it's step by step, and it has to be proven. But science isn't arrogant that it will hold on to those proven facts. It will hold on to them until they're disproven. It's like, this is true unless you can prove it otherwise, and in which case then we accept that thing based on the systematic process in which it has to be developed. I think that's like, I'd love to see like proof of the astrology belief system. I'd love to see a multiple peer-reviewed articles that proves that if you are an Aries, that these are your character traits. If you are a rising sun with this, that you are going to have these traits without a shadow of a doubt, or at least with like a 95% confidence. It's those kind of things. I think at the moment it's like lots of stuff, and it's easy to potentially say, we've seen this series of planets align, or based on the astrology of this time, we can assign these personality traits. What I would love to see is, I would love to see studies on it. I'd love to see someone analyze it and really like get to the bottom of it and go, it's now we can prove that in this thing, the people that were born at this time have these personality traits. I'd love to see it. And I would be like, cool, all right, I believe you.
Right. I mean, but one, like, it isn't for scientific, it isn't really to be pulled through the scientific approach, like, it's not a science to me. I know that there are some astrologers who feel adamant about wanting astrology to be considered a science. I am not one of them. I see it as a poetic, interpretive, spiritual language for self-awareness, for self-empowerment, for being able to have a stronger and a more sophisticated vernacular to be able to describe who I am, what I like, and to see the nuances and the multifaceted dimensions of who someone is. So it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't need the scientific method in order to validate it, because my experience working with my clients, working with myself, working with, the thousands of people who I have crossed paths with, show that astrology does improve people's lives, even if that's anecdotally. You know what I mean? And not everything, to me personally, I feel makes sense for the scientific method, and astrology is one of them. The vaccine is not that. Like that climate change, like we have that is the space where we really need people with sophisticated educational backgrounds and awareness of these, like, physics and engineering and chemistry, to be able to really help us move society along. For me, astrology is a way of seeing the world and having a different language set to be able to really, on an interpersonal level, recognize that people are different from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I actually like that as a belief. I think it works really nicely. And a lot of people just want to understand themselves, and they want to believe in something, and explanation of something they don't understand will help them to feel validated, comforted, and give them hope for the future, and like all of those things which help to improve people's lives. I think that religion also does that for a lot of people. It explains things which they can't understand, and it gives them structure and clarity, and it gives them hope and support, and like in the times they need it most. I think that's like what really benefits for
Definitely.
what a lot of people really benefit from.
And the reason that I think that astrology is super, super cool is because I'm an astrologer. No, but it's because it doesn't have a hierarchy. You know, you don't have an institution. You don't have figureheads. You don't have churches. You're not going to get in trouble for believing or not believing in something. You know, there's no downside. There's no one who's going to say, well, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then you're going to hell, or you need to be doing these types of things in order to be eligible for access to heaven. You know, it's really about being present in this lifetime, in this consciousness, without there being really any possibility of manipulation. You know, obviously there's going to be shitty manipulative people everywhere doing things, but astrology on its own doesn't create a structure that would allow that, you know?
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense that astrology and organized religion are relatively similar in the idea of it being a belief system, because a lot of religious things have come from astrology, have come from the sun, have come from the moon, have come from like OG gods have this astrological heritage. Yes. So it all makes a lot of sense to me on that front.
Perfect. Well, thank you for speaking on behalf of every straight dude on the planet. I'm glad that thank you for taking that challenge. That was absolutely terribly rude of me. But now 2 questions, and then I'm going to pull a tarot card for you. Question number 1 is, what do you believe in?
Yeah, good question. What do I believe in? I believe it changes as I get older, to be honest. It's not constant, it's evolving. I believe that most people know what good and bad is when they feel it. I think that we are connected on a deeper level than we understand. I don't necessarily believe that is through a higher power, but more like a figure or anything, but more that it is that there's like an energy that we have as people, that animals have, that the world has, that we're all kind of connected. Actually, like the movie Avatar kind of is a great illustration of that. We're all connected in a way that we don't fully understand. Maybe we're not switched on enough to get it, or we think we're too smart, whatever it is. I think that I'm not really sold on the idea of organized religion, if I'm honest. I find it a little bit too constricting and inconsistent. I was really interested in it when I was at school, and I was like keen, and I learned loads about it, about Christianity, and I was so intrigued in the inconsistency. I was like, these things don't make sense to me, and the belief without proof thing is something I really struggle with personally. I've got 2 science degrees, so like for me it's about process and going from A to B to C, and if you just tell me believe C is C, I'll go, why is C C? You know, I need to know why, and then we go back, and then I go, that makes sense, I can get it now, I believe you, but I can't just believe. So that's what I believe.
Love it. I love that answer. Beautiful. Okay. Question number 2 is, how does magic show up in your life?
I think magic is joy for me. It's those moments of like, wow, this is where everything has aligned, where the things that needed to happen for this moment to be what it is have happened, and that's magical. Yeah, it's probably the best way to describe it.
I love that. I have this little expression that I say that is tank, which means there are no coincidences. And it is in those synchronicities where you're like, how could this have been just at this exact moment, at this exact right time, where this led to this, and now everything has changed. That I agree. That's what I would call tank. There are no coincidences. And that is, to me, definitely the magic of the energy of the interconnectedness of us all. Okay. Now, before we wrap, I would love to pull a tarot card for you. However, the way that my deck works best is not with this ambiguous, like, let's just see what we get, because it's going to give us some weird fucking card that I won't be able to translate. You won't know what it means. So we're going to end up in a mess of a situation. So it does best when you have a specific question. So what is a question you would like to ask the tarot? And I can help you with the phrasing as well.
I think like something that a lot of people search for, and I search for, is happiness. So maybe the question would be, what will make me happy?
Cool. That's perfect. And why don't we bring some timing into it, because obviously that can change through time and is fluid. So what will make me happy? Do you want to do right now? Do you want to do this month? Do you want to do 2021?
Let's go 2021. Let's go slightly big picture. Okay.
So what is an energy for David to know that will connect you with happiness for the duration of 2021 in the months ahead? So cool. This is including the release of your show. A lot of big stuff coming up in the fall.
Of stuff going on for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Could be quite a big one.
Right. So we'll see. Okay. So would you like me to work with pile 1, pile 2, or pile 3?
2.
Amazing. Great choice. Okay. So what is the energy that David needs to know for the rest of 2021 that is most connected with this concept of happiness, right? Because happiness is so all encompassing. Yeah. Okay. Love it. Okay. Ace of Wands. So this is a very auspicious card. This is very beautiful to see. It's also very phallic, if you notice. It is. But this is the card. It's really interesting because this is actually the Aries card. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is the first sign of the entire system, but it's also the first fire sign. Fire is associated with sort of like the initial urge, the instinct, the impulse, and the aces in the tarot are associated with that same sort of raw initial energy. And then wands are associated with fire. So this is very much about you connecting with that passion, finding that joy. So my recommendation for you for the rest of the year is to kind of almost go back to the place that you were at maybe when Too Hot to Handle was coming out, going back to that, like, I'm just really excited and I'm just really happy to be here. And I can't believe this is happening. And it's like, I have no expectations, which means that you're going to be surprised and inspired and impassioned by everything. Obviously you're at a turning point in your career. So I could imagine that there are different expectations that you have for this than there were last year. But this card is saying, no, just have fun. Like, connect with that raw energy of just like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so life-changing and so miraculous. And yes, it's not perfect because nothing is ever perfect, but like just the fact that I'm in these conversations and I'm like on television like this and I'm in these dialogues is like, it means I'm winning. It means I'm winning. So like, so you are young and you have a long life ahead of you. And I think just being very present and being very sort of like committed to making the most out of whatever you're getting through this experience is going to be what brings you happiness.
Amazing. Well, I love that. That sounds good. That's real positive. And
yes, it is very
I'll take it on board.
Good. It's, this deck could be a real asshole. So when it gets a positive card, it really means it, because it definitely also knows how to be like, to throw a wrench in the whole conversation. So where can our listeners find you and connect with you and continue to support your work?
Yeah, so the best thing is you can follow me personally on Instagram at david.birtwistle. Or if you're into fitness and you want to learn more about that, then my coaching page is at Endeavor Life. We post loads of stuff about fitness and nutrition, and you'll learn things and I'll help you out.
Amazing. And if any of you listeners wants to be a creep and send a DM, do not say that you found out about David through this show, because that would make me look horrible. So listeners, control your fucking selves. Thank you, David. It was so lovely spending this afternoon with you. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see the show.
Cheers, Eliza. You have a great day as well. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Bye.